right, hello everyone, and welcome. It's Doug Diamond here. It is 10:10 p.m. on Sunday, January 21st, 2024. And yeah, how about that Davos information? Thought you guys would appreciate that. A little bit of an update as to what's going on. That was two back-to-back videos, one of which, the first one of the two, a lot of that came from Rebel News, which they always do a really good job at Davos. They go there and give those flunkies, the Davos flunkies, quite a hard time. So that's good. I look for them to probably next year, because of what Rebel News is able to do and the access that they've able to get to some of these highfalutin type of people just walking down the road, like John Kerry and people from Facebook and so forth. Look for them to, my guess is probably next year, I think Davos will probably shut down the walk into the front doors. I think they will give them give the guest people like John Kerry and others some other way in, so they don't have to talk to the little people like Rebel News and anyone else who's just up there asking questions that people want answers for. Because after all, they are all unelected, and they think they're officials. So welcome everyone. This is Doug Diamond. You've reached another Diamond Report Live. And I don't know, did you survive the whatever it was, the nuclear winter? Practically, we had quite the winter here where I'm at in Nashville. We had 7 or 8 inches, I think, officially, but seemed like a lot more than that. And kids were out of school and nobody was going anywhere for quite a few days there. However, now we are hitting the geoengineered rebound. This was a geoengineered event, if you didn't already know. Chemical ice nucleation. We've talked about that many times on this show. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. We've hit the rebound event. So look for the temperatures to go back up pretty quickly. So we'll look at that in just a little while. And hopefully you guys have had a good weekend thus far. And let's take a look at the news. We've got a few things pulled up tonight and a few videos as well. I already watched 2 of them, so we'll see how things progress. It says HalTurnerRadioShow.com, the very first one, covert intel, which is for subscribers only. Biden has signed the order. So if you want to know what that is, let's just say it has to do with Yemen. And then we'll figure out or find out more as we go forward as far as what that is. So DeSantis drops out of the White House race. No surprise there. The Donald has pretty much taken over, I guess. Vivek Ramaswamy also dropped out, as you guys I'm sure know. And says updated covert intel again, sea mines being deployed. Again, this is on Hal Turner's website. And let's see, got some Israeli strike targets Hassan Nasrallah, which is a Hezbollah leader. And so they are all about hitting, I guess, Israelis hitting the Hezbollah leaders. And this particular guy was in Lebanon. So, anyway, look for more, I would say, answers that will come from Lebanon probably pretty soon, I'm guessing. Ukraine is still pounding Donetsk, I guess is how it's pronounced. And there's more info over here on HalTurnerRadioShow.com, including yet another Siberian polar vortex. So we'll look at the weather stuff here in just a little bit when we go to the articles on geoengineeringwatch.org. So we will see how it goes. And yeah, look for more winter weather. I guess it is what they call winter now. However, if they would leave it alone, my guess is the temperatures would probably be pretty warm worldwide. But not if you are in the eastern half of the United States. That is purposely kept very cool, through a process called chemical ice nucleation again. So yeah, let's see. We've got a few articles on needtoknow.news. G. Edward Griffin's website, World Economic Forum, declares disinformation to be the world's greatest threat. Well, if you're like me, you think the World Economic Forum is the world's greatest threat, not disinformation. Of course, disinformation is just the stuff that they don't want you to know about. That's actually true. World Economic Forum, WEF, surveyed 1,490 of the world's experts that included from academia business, government, and civil society who concluded that the number one threat to humanity is misinformation and disinformation. Climate change came in second. How about that? The extensive censorship and blacklisting that occurred over the last 4 years during the book protected such experts from scrutiny and criticism. I think that's the whole purpose of it. Turley said, this is, I guess probably the attorney, said that the question is whether the public can be spooked into surrendering free speech again by the global elite. I think, unfortunately, they probably will be. So I was looking at chat earlier, and let's see, some I guess it was Vicky says, after the next pandemic, they will probably become the digital identity. I think you're right. So yeah, this stuff all plays in together. It all works together. So this is on needtoknow.news, and one more from that site. All right, revolver.news. We've got a few articles from there that we've linked to and found I thought were worth mentioning. Leaked war plans reveals Germany is preparing for WW3. Europe is preparing for President Putin to expand his country's war in Ukraine and attack a NATO ally next year, which he's come out and said there's no chance of that happening, but they're doing it anyway. Leaked documents published in German newspaper Bild revealed multiple alarming scenarios could play out within a year, according to the documentation, all of which is made up. One such scenario, dubbed Alliance Defense 2025, would start this February with Russia mobilizing an additional 200,000 soldiers. And then here's a map of the supposed plans. Russia's plan to hit NATO. Leaked documents from the German Ministry of Defense show the government's worried President Putin will target NATO next with the following plan. February 2024, Russia calls up 200,000 more troops. Spring 2024 launches a spring offensive against Ukraine, like they haven't already been doing that for 2 years. July 2024, cyber attacks against Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and stirring up Russian nationals who live in those nations. September of this year, using those Russian nationals as a pretense for saying the Balkans are rightfully theirs, and so on and so forth. So it goes on and on here. In December 2024, taking advantage of the transition period in the U.S. election, which, of course, is going to be complete and total fraud, like it was last time and the time before. Russia claims border conflicts forces it to take control of the Suwalki Gap, a corridor connecting Belarus to Kaliningrad. January 2025, Russia falsely accuses NATO of plotting to overthrow Putin. In March through May of 2025, so we're way out there here. Outright conflict between NATO forces and Russian forces in the Balkans. So who knows what sort of timeline is really going to happen, but this is what was leaked apparently from Germany. So yeah, we'll see, right? But this is on the Discern Report, and next article I've got, Headline USA. I mentioned this last week, sort of a twist on this. So this is saying 911 call from Lloyd Austin's team reveals secretive nature of his hospitalization. Can the ambulance not show up with the lights and sirens? We're trying to remain a little subtle. The video embedded here too. And Hal Turner was reporting last week, and I mentioned it, that it may or may not be true. There's no way to know, that a Russian confidant person told him that, in fact, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was killed in a Russian cruise missile hit in Kiev, and obviously that's, I think, turned out to be false. So, but I said at the time that there's a good chance that it may not be true, that if the cruise missile didn't get him, it's probably was Maj did will, because boy, he was certainly Maj happy, wasn't he? The transcript of the 911 call placed by Defense Secretary Austin's team the day he was rushed to the hospital reveals the lengths to which he went to keep his condition a secret. I wonder why. Austin was recently released from the hospital only after being kept in the intensive care unit for days following complications from an elective surgical procedure related to his cancer diagnosis. And yet there was a 911 call. So is it really elective? Reports revealed he had not informed others in the Pentagon or even the White House of his extended hospitalization, but instead told the Defense Department staffers that he was, quote, working from home. When Austin was rushed to the hospital, his aides also took great pains to keep the news a secret. Can I ask, can the ambulance not show up with lights and sirens, the staffer said in the recording first obtained by the Daily Beast, who is a leftist rag. We're trying to remain a little subtle. The dispatcher agreed to the request, noting that usually when they turn into a residential neighborhood, they turn them off. However, the operator added that Virginia law requires EMTs to use the lights and sirens on major streets and intersections. The transcript confirmed that Austin's team intentionally wanted to hide the secretary's condition even from President Joe Biden, who reportedly learned of Austin's hospitalization when it was publicly reported in the media. The lack of transparency has prompted Republicans and even Dems to demand Austin's resignation. Yeah, right. I don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, who knows? I don't know what happened, but apparently he wasn't doing too well for a while. I don't know, if any of this is even true. There is a recording, I guess. There is a transcript and a recording of the 911 call. So it seems to me like he probably wasn't killed by a cruise missile, a Russian cruise missile in Kiev. So I think the Russian person that told Hal that was probably wrong on that little detail. Obviously, for whatever reason, Lloyd Austin wasn't even there. So who knows? But I suppose more and more stuff will come out little by little, as does it always in situations like this. It just takes a little time. I mentioned this last week as well. Just further proof here. Report, Michelle Obama angling to replace Joe for president. I don't think it's Michelle Obama doing it, if you ask me. I think it's her husband, Barack Obama. Or as I say, Barack Insane Obama. New York Post article, legendary gossip columnist Cindy Adams reports Barack and Michelle are angling to replace Joe, see how they have the power there, with former First Lady Michelle as the Dems presidential nominee this year. I think that's probably very likely. And keeping in mind that it is Obama's third term right now, and if Michelle gets in there, it will be his fourth term as U.S. president. Everyone knows that he's the current president, not Joe Biden. Give me a break, right? Anyway, further proof here, other people talking about it, and I fully expect that probably will happen if there's an election at all. If we make it that far, not meaning the end of the world, but just simply if we make it to the point where there's actually an election, it will be a rigged election, like I've always said. It will be a rigged election, and they will probably prop up someone like Michelle Obama or someone like that. I think she's probably preferred, believe it or not, over Gavin Newsom. Newsom could still be on the ticket. He could be the Veep. It's hard to say. Kamala Harris will get the exit, I believe. Will be shown the exit door just like old Joe. I don't think they can endure another 4 years of old Joe, if you ask me. I think they will happily put someone like Michelle Obama in who will automatically be Barack Obama for his fourth term. So we'll see what happens. I don't think Trump's going to win just based on that. Obviously, we've got the Republican field is thinning as well, and it does look like it'll be Trump if he's allowed to stay alive. A lot of people say he's part of the cabal, and they're going to put him in, and it won't matter which president it is, and that's probably true to some degree. However, I don't think that Trump getting in there is going to happen at all, because I think that he's too much of a threat for the overarching powers that be. I don't think they like what he wants to do, and certainly would put a quash on the World Economic Forum and global government sort of situation. He doesn't seem to be, at least in my opinion, doesn't seem to be one who's all for that, like any other Democrat person like a Barack Obama in his fourth term would be, if you ask me. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It will be an interesting year for sure, will it not? So this is another sort of backing up sort of article to that. New York Post, don't be shocked if Michelle Obama sneaks her way into the 2024 race. Again, it's not her doing the sneaking, it's Barack. So Barack, it says Biden won't debate, can't. Our codger-in-chief, now keep in mind this is a New York Post saying this, our codger-in-chief can't read the pre-written script in front of him fast enough to pronounce the words. So forget him, which most of us already have, coming back now, Obama. Not him, her. But it's still really him, is it not? We've heard this drumbeat for a while. Now it's louder. Plans are to grab Michelle for the Democrat presidency choice. Making the music is Barack, the orchestra leader. Yep, exactly. Michelle says she's terrified that Trump will win. No casual burp was programmed. She sent a survey to Democrat biggies, meaning big donors, asking their feelings about her candidacy. Obama's quietly angling for Joe to go. He's weaseled up to this for a few weeks. Mouths aren't talking, but mouths are knowing. So who knows? Says over a year ago, summer 22, she was in New York City making several big hedge CEOs, and said, "I am running, and I'm asking for your support." So there you go. I do think that that's probably what's going to happen if we even get that far, having an election. We'll see. Gonzalo Lira and the Dissident Rights Martyrdom Complex. So this is an article that I found, and it's actually a Substack article. I've got this video clip here that I feel like we should watch. We talked about Gonzalo Lira quite a bit last week, and I do think this clip is important because it's him talking, and the clip is entitled, "This is Why the Biden Regime Likely Had Gonzalo Lira Murdered." And I think it's an important one, so let's check this out, and we'll come back and talk a little bit about it. Here it is. There's his commentary, and you see why. Yep, I thought that was pretty bombshell stuff there that Gonzalo had said. I'd missed that before, I guess, so I don't know if you guys knew any of those details. Thought it was pretty interesting. This Robert Stark on Substack here is saying the allegations that Gonzalo was some kind of Russian plant or paid Russian shill are nonsense. Western media smears are likely contributed to his demise. However, he did come across as having a pro-Russian slant. For instance, he said that the Russians would steamroll Ukraine. I think that's just telling the truth, right? Ukraine, when it has been more of a stalemate, with Russia seizing about 20% of Ukraine's territory. It has not been a stalemate. No. So a lot of this, what this guy is saying in the Substack, is actually pro-Ukraine, which I disagree with. However, I do think it was pretty interesting, some of the things that Mr. Lira talked about there. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that and show you guys a clip. I thought it was pretty good information that he brought forth. I had not heard a lot of that. So very interesting. You can see why they would want to get rid of him, right? We'll link to this in my Substack post that I send out tomorrow. So if you're not on the list, you should jump on the list. The black little box in the upper right corner has the link. It's diamonddisc.substack.com. That is my Substack, where I send out the links to the final version of this show, as well as the different articles that I talked about tonight, and many of the videos that we cover as well. So, yeah, make sure you're on that list if you're not already. And let's see the next article from Mishtalk. Ford loses $36,000 on each EV, cuts production of electric trucks. That's because no one cares. No one is buying them because they're junk. Demand for EVs is nowhere close to projections, so car makers are slashing production. Says CNN reports Ford's cutting back F-150 Lightning electric truck production. Ford will shut down one of 2 production shifts in April at the Dearborn plant that builds F-150 Lightning electric pickup. The move is part of matching F-150 Lightning production to customer demand, which basically means zero or very little. General Motors recently made a similar announcement about its Chevy Silverado EV, announcing it would postpone adding production facilities for the truck, which went into production last spring for corporate customers. Ford still projects an increase in Lightning sales this year after a 55% jump to 24,000 trucks last year. 24,000 trucks, that's it. And that's a 55% jump. Yeah, and it says about that 55% jump. The EV advocates like to stress surging 55% increase in demand. I like to look at other numbers. Ford went from selling 15,000 trucks to selling 24,000 trucks. Ford sold 750,000 trucks last year. EVs accounted for 3.2% of them. That's roughly going from 2% to 3%. Hooray? Yeah, it's a big deal. See how they manipulate the numbers and make it sound like everybody wants these things, and yet they're cutting the production because, as always, electric vehicles are a bridge to nowhere. They're building these things, and then the electric grid cannot possibly support everyone having electric vehicles. But the idea is to get you out of your gas-powered vehicle so that it can be controlled with your digital identity and digital dollars, your digital bucks, so that they shut you off if you've used too many of your carbon credits or whatever. You won't be able to drive anywhere. That's the idea. That's why they want to get you into an electric vehicle. Can't really shut off a gas-powered vehicle if there's still gas around, can you? So anyway, it's on mishtalk.com is where that is. Tech Radar found this one. A tiny radioactive battery could keep your future phone running for 50 years. Isn't that nice? A glowing horizon for phones. So you'll get, of course, you know, with that sort of EMF around you from the phone, you're never going to live 50 years. They don't really tell you that. A Chinese company has developed a new nuclear battery that could keep your phone running for 50 years without charging. So how many updates would that be? Yeah. Betavolt technology claims to have successfully miniaturized atomic energy batteries. Sounds safe. Which measure less than a coin at 15 by 15 by 5 millimeters. The compact battery uses the radioactive isotope nickel-63 to generate 100 microwatts and a voltage of 3 volts of electricity through the process of radioactive decay. Sounds safe, doesn't it? When you want that in your front pocket, in your back pocket, a little nuclear device? I think not. The battery is currently in the pilot testing stage, and they plan to mass produce them for commercial devices like phones and drones. But also states nuclear batteries could be used for aerospace equipment, AI, medical equipment, advanced sensors, and micro robots. The Beijing-based company claims to have drawn inspiration from devices such as pacemakers and satellites. Lovely, huh? Well, I thought you'd want to know. They want to put a nuclear battery in your phone. And then, of course, somebody will figure out how to hack them and start blowing things up, right? Anyway, yeah, that's on Tech Radar is where that is. Revolver article, Garland admits on national TV that he wholeheartedly supports the 2024 election interference. Says, while Mitch McConnell is widely criticized, and for very good reasons, his decision to block Merrick Garland from the Supreme Court stands out as one of his greatest moves ever. So if you didn't know that, I said, had Garland, a corrupt and tyrannical weasel, been given a lifelong platform to influence American lives and businesses, it would have led to an even quicker demise for this nation. However, the Supreme Court or not, Merrick Garland is still making waves, basically using the United States Constitution as litter box liner. At this point, we're all crossing our fingers that his term wraps up in 4 years. Meanwhile, he's on a tear, wreaking havoc left and right. If you're looking for a top-tier regime puppet, Garland's your guy. Completely flipping what this country stands for on its head and all to give the regime a leg up against their much more popular political rival. At this point, they've hit the stage where they're not even bothering to hide their moves. Garland actually had the nerve to go on national TV and say he's all for interfering with the 2024 election. Over half the country is upset about it. Tough luck. It looks like the Democrats are going all in with every trick they've got because they think they've got no other way to win. Yeah, and I would say they're all in power, so they think that even if they don't win, they still stay in power because they'll just keep everything they have. They keep the offices that they have. So anyway, seems that Merrick Garland, the big law guy, doesn't realize that speedy trial rights are reserved for the accused, not the tyrannical government. So yeah, anyways, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. He's all for the 2024 election interference. He will probably get his wish. It's my guess. Okay. Now, you guys may have heard about this. It's kind of making the rounds in the last day or two. Sports Illustrated announces major layoffs, putting the brand's future in jeopardy. It's because it's a massive woke rag, right? It's like so many other things. Sports Illustrated announced major layoffs on Friday, according to the publication's union, throwing the future of the legacy sports magazine into question. Union said it was notified by the magazine's publisher, the Arena Group, that it intended to lay off a significant number, possibly all, of Sports Illustrated's unionized staffers because Arena had lost its license to publish the magazine. That's because it's a woke rag like so many other things. So, yeah, they had if you don't know, they had a trans person as a swimsuit model. So, anyway, yeah, so that's the Sports Illustrated story that's on Wall Street Journal, courtesy of the Bill Gates MSN.com website. Thanks a lot, Bill. SGT report, I found this. What we learned at Davos, global aristocracy intends on rebuilding trust through censorship and surveillance. Means you won't have a choice. You'll have to trust them, they think. A rundown of the annual World Economic Forum gathering in the Swiss Alps, another gathering of the ghouls, is behind us as the WEF's Davos confab has come to an end. Here's what we learned about the plans our technocratic tyrant overlords, I like that, have for us, along with a series of highlights, the good, the bad, and the notable from the annual Swiss mountain retreat. This is on SGT Report, so feel free to take a look at this if you want. The art wall that greets the Davos attendees. So this is how they're going to build trust, and it's not complicated at all. You can see that. You see if we can see a larger version of this picture. Yeah, it's not complicated at all. There it is. So that's how they got to rebuild the trust. Yeah, right. They're going to force us to trust them. There was no real debate. In order to access Club Davos, prospective participants are ideologically vetted for adherence to the big narratives advanced by Schwab and the gang. Davos isn't a forum for a robust debate, but a chance for the global ruling class to rally together behind the same agenda items. That is what? That is global government. So, anyway, yeah, and they're talking about Volodymyr Zelensky appealing for more money. Of course, he's there begging. Davos has become deeply unpopular in the United States, as evidenced by the razor-thin U.S. congressional delegation, only 7 members this year, most of whom are Davos regulars, and the lack of Biden administration heavyweights. John Kerry led the delegation that made the trip to Switzerland. There's very little public support for the agenda items that are advanced by Klaus Schwab and the gang, coupled with the fact that legislators want to be back home to pass government funding bills. Of course, 2024 marked a historic low for American government representatives in Davos. Take that for what it's worth. Anyway, that's on SGT Report. Genetic scientists on track to create a genetically engineered doomsday. These genetic scientists have abused science and contaminated the gene pool of every living thing on this planet. Collectively, they've been plotting the takeover of all genetic material since 1992. The only way to stop them is to take away their key cards, immediately escort them out of their laboratories, permanently ban them from any scientific research, and then raise the building to the ground. So, yeah, good luck with that, right? Anyway, I mean, I agree, but how are you going to do that? Technocracy and the collapse of credentialism. This is a salient call for dismissing technocrats from positions of power and influence. Technocrats have long told us what we can and can't do, what we're allowed to own, what our kids must learn in school. People should see through these self-professed experts as phonies and frauds. The collapse of credentialism, indeed. I think they're talking about probably PhDs and so forth. PhDs often stands for perhaps he's delusional. So for all of you PhDs in the audience, my apologies, but that's what it really means. Perhaps he's delusional. Technocracy.news is where that one is. Liberty Beacon, 2024. Too many things going wrong. The world economy is acting more like an 80-year-old man than like a young, vigorous economy. Yeah. It will be an interesting year. We know that the age of peak performance for humans varies depending upon the activity. Peak performance for an athlete tends to come between ages 20 and 30, while peak performance for a person writing academic papers, which you shouldn't really believe, right, seems to come between ages 40 and 50 years. By the time people are 80 years old, they have strong suspicion that their health and other aspects of performance will deteriorate over the next 20 years. Economies in physical terms are similar to human beings. Both are dissipative structures. They require energy of the appropriate kinds to keep their systems growing and operating normally. For humans, the main source of this energy is food. For an economy, it's a mixture of energy that the economy is specifically adapted to. Today's economy requires a certain mixture of energy directly from the sun plus energy from fossil fuels, burned biomass, and nuclear energy. Electricity is a carrier of energy from different sources. It needs to be available at the right time of day and the right time of year to allow today's economy to continue. Yes, but that's why they're shutting it all off, so that there is no economy. They're flipping the switch very slowly. Anyway, there's some more here on the economy and what sort of trouble that it's in on thelibertybeacon.com. Lots of other good articles on there, too. I saw this, and I don't know if you guys noticed, a few days ago now, it was trending on Twitter. I was trying to figure out why King Charles's name was trending on Twitter, and I looked into it, and it turns out he has an enlarged prostate, and he's going to have surgery. You guys know about this? So how's this going to play in the whole Antichrist thing? I don't know. I'm just asking. Prince William takes the reign as King Charles decides to abdicate duties amid health worries, ? King Charles decides to abdicate to duties amid health worries. It says right here that Prince William is said to be taking reign as his father, King Charles, has reportedly decided to abdicate to his duties for medical procedure. Prince of Wales, soon to be king, will reportedly take the reign after Easter. It says William will run the monarchy on behalf of his father, King Charles, who's known as the caretaker of the throne for him. I don't think we make it that far. I don't think he ever assumes the throne personally. Meanwhile, King Charles is seeking treatment for an enlarged prostate. That's what was trending on Twitter. I thought that was kind of funny. You should have seen the memes. There were some good ones. Now all eyes are on the future king as he supports the monarchy during a major health saga. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace revealed that King Charles III is seeking treatment for an enlarged prostate, noting the 75-year-old's public engagements will be postponed for a short period of recuperation. William, who is heir to the throne, will pick up the extra workload amid stressful time. I'm sure it'll be really stressful. Anyway, I just thought I would bring that to your attention. It appears that old Charlie Boy is getting ready to have prostate surgery at some point. Why they came out and announced this, I don't know. There was an official announcement from Buckingham Palace, from the royals, as it were, and I thought that was kind of strange. You'd have thought they would have been hush-hush about it and kept it all secret, but they didn't. I'm sort of surprised. So does this play into the whole Antichrist thing? Is this how he is wounded? Is this where the mortal wound comes from, that he comes back from? I doubt it. But I do think it's interesting. And they're really pushing this Prince William, that the fact that he's going to be briefly taking over. I doubt it. Yeah, that is the official information that I just read to you there, but how much power he will actually have, I don't know. So we'll see what happens, I guess, but I thought that was kind of interesting. Daily Mail, UFO reported over China with 3 light sources that move quickly without emitting any sound, and witnesses say it was not an aircraft. Thousands of people reported seeing a UFO in the skies over China on Monday. Reports describe the object having 3 light sources shaped like a triangle. What do you think? Well, we can watch it. Here's what it looks like. There's no real audio here, so we'll just take a look at it. I don't know. Doesn't seem particularly interesting to me. UFO spotted soaring over China sparks fears of aliens. I didn't know the Chinese even knew what aliens were. No, I'm just joking. But, I mean, that's not something that you really think necessarily even go together. Weird. There's a big smoke ring. It says one person shared on Weibo that the weather was clear in Beijing when it witnessed a glowing object looming and determined it was not an aircraft because there were no flashing lights. It is pretty odd, I'll give you that. This is about a 2-minute video. Looks like a cloud taking off. Anyway, there's a different shot of it. You can kind of see, you can sort of make out the triangle there. Reports of a UFO in China are circling the web, with residents of Beijing and nearby towns claiming to have seen a moving cloud-like object with 3 light sources. So there it is. Very strange. There's quite a few pictures over here on Daily Mail. And again, we'll link to this article in the Substack post as well, so you can check out the pictures and video if you want to. Houthis declare safe passage for all Russian Chinese ships in the Red Sea. So they get to go on their way, not too surprising. In a remarkable development at the moment that European retailers and factories are beginning to bear the brunt of the global shipping chaos and soaring Red Sea transit risk, the Houthis have declared safe passage for Russia and China. So now, are the Americans going to disguise all their ships as Russian ships? You think that's what's coming? I don't know. A senior Houthi official mentioned these U.S. rivals by name in an interview with the Russian outlet on Friday. As for all other countries, including Russia and China, their shipping in the region is not threatened, as he said, stipulating this will remain as long as they are not linked to Israel or its supporters. So if you're linked to Israel, you get the treatment that the Americans are getting, that the Israeli ships would get too. You get fired upon. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on this. We'll see how it unfolds. I do think that it's yet another brewing potential conflict here. So, I mean, it's already a conflict. I think it could potentially get worse. Another Daily Mail article: foreign developers, including Chinese, Russian, Iranian, and Venezuelans, now own at least 40 million acres of U.S. land near military bases from coast to coast. Government admits it does not know the full extent of the land grab. I mentioned this last week. We were talking specifically about a Chinese Communist Party member who had a lot of acreage over in, I think it was in Oregon, if I remember right. Says the watchdog claims the U.S. government is not keeping tabs on foreign landowners. They're probably encouraging it, if you ask me. The report revealed there are at least 40 million acres owned by other countries. That includes China, Russia, Iran, and other American adversaries. And here's the other article that I was talking about. Chinese billionaire Chen Tianquo's $85 million purchase of Oregon. Yeah, so it's talking about Oregon, is missing from government records. So, the great farm invasion of America. So you can see from this map here who owns what. A lot of yellow there, that's China. Some purple for Venezuela as well. Kind of weird. Yeah, foreign countries own at least 40 million acres of U.S. farmland, pastures, and forests, while officials claimed they may have consequences for national security. You think? Oh, but that doesn't matter. It's fine. It's all fine. It's no problem. Netanyahu says in the future, the state of Israel has to control the entire area from the river to the sea. Bibi has made his aims clear. Will Western governments continue to support this genocidal maniac? Well, yeah, I think they will. Sure seems that way. Matter of fact, they're going to chip in and help him. So yeah, that's what they want to do. War criminal, retweet if you agree. Yeah. So that's on Censored Men on Twitter X. And then one more here. Trump, this is a repost, I guess. Trump, as your president, this is what he said: I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency. Which right there you see, I mean, if you take him at his word, which, you can choose not to, that right there is the sentence that would stop him from becoming president, could even end his life. Because that is the entire ball of wax, as they say. That's the whole thing. CBDCs, the digital dollars, the digital bucks. That's where it's headed. We all know it. And that is what they have to have in place to get their global government in place. So anyways, not saying that he's actually going to stand in the way. He could just be saying this, but if there's any truth to that at all, they cannot allow him to become president. Scott Ritter says how the U.S. misleads the world about its involvement in Yemen. While Washington maintains that the strikes on Houthi installations are defensive and fully legal, neither is the case. You mean the American government's lying? Shocker. So you guys probably know who Scott Ritter is. The strikes in Yemen were necessary, proportionate, and consistent with international law. With this statement, the United States delegates to the United Nations defend the joint U.S.-UK military strikes against targets affiliated with the Houthi militia undertaken on the nights of January 12th, 2024. The irony of this statement is that it was made before a body, the United Nations Security Council, which had not authorized any such action, thereby eliminating any claim to legitimacy that could possibly be made by the U.S. The Charter of the UN specifies two conditions under international law in which military force can be used. One is the conduct of legitimate self-defense, as articulated in Article 51 of the Charter. The other is in accordance with the authority granted by the UN Security Council through a resolution passed under Chapter 7 of the Charter. British Foreign Minister David Cameron cited the UN Security Council in his justification of the UK's involvement in the attacks on Yemen, claiming the Council had made clear that the Houthi must halt attacks in the Red Sea. So they're claiming defense. Let's see here. The main problem with this argument is that the Houthis had not attacked Americans either at home or abroad, to the extent that U.S. forces had previously engaged weapons fired by the Houthis. They had done so to shield non-American assets, either the state of Israel or international shipping, from Houthi attack. Under no circumstances could the U.S. argue that it had been attacked by the Houthis. U.S. attacks, Biden asserted, were carried out to deter and weaken the Houthi ability to launch future attacks. Yes, this is what this claimed. So again, total lies from the American empire. But yeah, I guess it's to be expected, right? Have to justify their genocide of one form or another. Information liberation. DeSantis drops out of the presidential race, endorses Trump. After all the fighting back and forth, he decides to endorse him. Thought that was kind of funny. Anti-Zionist Twitter users see their reach plummet ahead of Musk's planned visit to Auschwitz. Kind of interesting. We should all be grateful that Alex Soros is an idiot. This is George Soros' kid, if you didn't know. Daily Mail says Nikki Haley cheated on husband Michael with two separate men. Sounds like Nikki Haley is a bit like, I don't know if you'd call her smarter or not, but a bit like the crazy vice president that we have. They call her heels up, right? Maybe Nikki Haley's the same, I don't know. New footage shows Secret Service let group of children walk past a pipe bomb planted ahead of J6. That's okay, because they had the button to press it. They knew they weren't going to explode it right then, I guess. Netanyahu, in the future, the state of Israel has to control the entire area from the river to the sea. So, mentioned that earlier. And yeah, there's quite a few articles over here on informationliberation.com. It's a good site. I thought this was kind of odd. Kanye West gets $850,000 titanium teeth modeled after the James Bond spy. I saw this and I knew exactly right away who it was. Talking about Jaws from The Spy Who Loved Me. You remember that? You guys ever see that? Kanye West is trading rap for heavy metal. The 46-year-old rapper turned heads when he took to his Instagram story Wednesday to show off his new metallic teeth, which the Daily Mail is reporting to be worth a hefty $850,000. In his second post, West compared his new look to the James Bond villain Jaws, who had a mouthful of metal, which of course was all pretend, but in the movie it looked real. The villain appeared in 1977's The Spy Who Loved Me and 1979's Moonraker. The Daily Mail reported West's teeth were fully removed and replaced with custom-made titanium teeth by the self-proclaimed father of diamond dentistry, Dr. Thomas Connolly, and cosmetic dentist, Dr. Hayashi, I guess. However, Connolly denied West's natural teeth had been removed. So there you go. He did not have his teeth removed. He still has full dentition. Healthy and happy. That's what it looks like to me. I think it's all a ruse. I think he just had those covers put on him. I don't think he had his teeth removed. This is the real Jaws, for you guys who didn't know. If you haven't seen the James Bond film, well, either one of them, Moonraker or Spy Who Loved Me. Good films from the 70s. Yeah, so I thought that was odd. Very strange thing to decide to do. He's probably been watching too many Bond movies or something. I don't know what the deal is with West. Biden flies from his Rehoboth, I don't know how you say it, Rehoboth Beach to his Wilmington home and then back to his beach house. Says climate change zealot Joe Biden on Sunday flew on Marine One from the beach to his Wilmington home, then back to the beach. Biden is not expected to return to the White House until Monday. He's always on vacation, you see. I thought that was really strange. He spent 432 days, which is 39.4% of his presidency, on vacation with no visitor logs. But it's okay if he does it. Imagine if Trump tried that. Well, it says after hiding out all weekend at the beach, he flew on Marine One to his Wilmington home, then flew back to the beach. Marine One costs approximately $20,000 per hour. And Air Force One costs $177,000 per hour, according to U.S. Department of Defense documents. Biden's frequent trips and vacations to Delaware have cost U.S. taxpayers well over $15 million. But it's okay. They just have to get him out of the way so Obama can actually be the president. That's what's going on. They get him out of Dodge. Anyway, yeah. There and back again is totally fine spending all of the tax money that comes in on flying around. Arizona town's digital government office under scrutiny for censoring elected officials' social media based on liberal ideologies. A recent investigative report has exposed shocking revelations about the town of Gilbert's Office of Digital Government. Didn't know there was such a thing. Drawing attention to its extensive monitoring and control over the online activities of town employees and elected officials. The report, first brought by Arizona Free News, highlighted the office's role in policing online speech to align with a specific political agenda. No surprise there. The ODG, with an annual budget exceeding $1 million, is accused of imposing progressive far-left views, closely monitoring and sometimes reprimanding employees for their private and public communications. But you see, that's what they do. That's what they do. They are totalitarian tyrants. And you cannot have any opinion that differs from theirs. Period. Anyway, that's going on, I guess, in Arizona town. If you guys are in Arizona, you might want to look this up. It's on the Gateway Pundit. Video, Senator Fetterman says immigration crisis threatens to destroy the American dream. I played a Fetterman clip a show or two ago now, and I'm not convinced that this is the same guy. I don't know. Maybe it is. According to Democrat Senator Fetterman, the border crisis is threatening to destroy the American dream as another 300,000 people approach the southern border. Well, we're just going to take them all, right? Everyone. The entire planet is coming into the United States. I think it's fine. And before long, they're going to be arming them. I'm still maintaining that. Fetterman voiced his concerns about the ongoing migration crisis and demanded a secure border as he spoke to CNN's Jake Tapper. Now, this is a good way to lose your job, Fetterman. So if it's really Fetterman and he's really coming out of the funk, coming out of the, what was it, a stroke, I guess he had or whatever, he's sounding un-Democrat-like. And that's a good way to lose your position and not get elected with another fake election next time. They'll fake election you right out of your position, Fetterman. So anyway, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. The video clip's here if you guys want to watch it. I can't imagine why you would, but, you know, you have to report when people are saying something that is actually true. I mean, he is. So good for him. I'm not sure that it's the same guy, but who knows? Alec Baldwin cuts $10 million off his mansion, off the sale price as legal troubles grow. Baldwin might be showing signs of financial difficulty amid his ongoing legal battles. Fox Business reported that he slashed $10 million off the asking price of his home in the Hamptons, and it's even paying for online ads to help find a buyer. The property was originally listed at $29 million before dropping to $25 million. Today, the asking price is below $20 million, so it's a steal. You guys in the audience can go grab it if you want to. Yeah, right. In a promotional video posted online, Baldwin said he purchased the impressive property in 1995 and has built 2 extensions since then. The article says, on Friday, Baldwin was indicted on charges of involuntary manslaughter over the fatal shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins in 2021. Tragic incident took place in the film set of Rust in Santa Fe, New Mexico, when Baldwin apparently set off a firearm intended as a prop, wounding the director Joel Souza and killing Hutchins. The actor denies pulling the trigger and insists he only drew back the hammer of the pistol, although prosecutors dispute his claim. Yes, that's true. That's a typical liberal argument. I didn't do it. And therefore proceeds to gaslight us all and tell us how he didn't pull the trigger, even though the gun was only in his hands when it was loaded. Anyway, coming soon, I thought this was kind of good and certainly worth watching. Someone made a parody showing what flights will look like in our progressive future. DEI, or I should say DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's to die for. And you got to see this. I thought it was pretty funny. So here it is. Let me play it for you. I'll just stay on camera. Anyway, nottheb.com is where this is. And it's not really... The reason it's funny is because it's so true. It's so true. This is where the airlines are headed. So for all you guys who fly often, just keep that in mind. It is not looking good. Now, let's see. Modernity News, which is Paul Joseph Watson's website, replaced Summit.news some time ago, I guess. I've got several Davos articles. I thought I'd just kind of glean through these just real quick. World Health Organization head, global compliance needed for next pandemic. Very narrow national interests should not come in the way. In an appearance at the globalist WEF forum in Davos, Director General of the World Homicide Organization urges that global cooperation will be needed during the next pandemic and that national interests hinder compliance. Says in a session titled Disease X, Tedros stated that in order to be better prepared and to understand Disease X, the WHO's pandemic agreement needs to be adopted globally, which I kind of mentioned this earlier, but there's more here on this article, including quite a few video clips if you want to subject yourself to it. I don't know if I recommend that, but feel free to check it out. John Kerry snaps at reporters' stupid question, quote unquote, about Davos' carbon footprint. Yes, because it's okay if he does it, because he is saving the planet, you see. We are just wrecking the planet. Says Joe Biden's climate envoy, John Kerry, was ambushed on his... This is why I think that they're going to do away with the walking down the street thing. He was ambushed on his way to talk to the WEF globalists Tuesday and snapped at a reporter who asked him to justify the carbon footprint of the annual Davos confab. Rebel News reporter Avi Yemeni battled with Kerry's handlers while he walked to the elite meeting as they tried to physically shove him out of the way and prevent him from asking questions. He says, what's the carbon footprint of these events every single year that you come here? Yemeni asked Kerry, adding, you think it's worth it? Peasants pay for your crimes? Kerry snapped back, that's a stupid question. Is it really? Is it more stupid than you traveling here to tell us? Yemeni fired back. Why do you think you're more important? Yemeni continued, adding, your carbon footprint doesn't matter, but everybody else around the world. Kerry interjected, no one ever suggested that. Don't make up stupid questions. Being here every single year suggests that, the reporter told Kerry. And I have done a huge amount. Kerry started to protest before his handlers again physically intervened. So anyway, the actual video clip is here, embedded on this article if you want to take a look. And then this one, flashback, Klaus Schwab excitedly said elections won't be needed soon. Yep, a clip is going viral of the WEF arch globalist leader Klaus Schwab announcing excitedly that very soon digital technologies will mean that you do not even have to have elections anymore. I think that's the plan, probably starting this year. So yeah, that is on modernity.news. A couple more from there. Another Davos story here. Video. Globalist WEF speaker complains Elon Musk's X is toxic and scary. The globalist Davos confab has gotten underway, and they're already talking about how Elon Musk and X, how evil Elon Musk is and X is, with one guest complaining that the platform formerly known as Twitter is toxic, and the new name is scary. It's scary. So, not too surprising. I don't know if I guess that's a woman. I don't know. I can't really tell. She's very strange looking. Might be a guy in drag. I don't know. Kind of looks like it. Just looking at the neck, looking for an Adam's apple. I sort of think it might be there, but I can't quite tell. Video. EU president calls for globalist control over all information. Tells Davos elite that their top priority should be industrial scale disinformation. President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, addressed elites at the WEF, calling for overarching globalist control over the flow of all information in the digital age. Top concern for the next 2 years is not conflict or climate, it's disinformation and misinformation, Ursula says. What a perfect name for this witch. The boundary between online and offline is getting thinner and thinner, and it's even more important in the era of generative AI. Yeah. So again, video clips and further information on modernity.news. Okay, vaccineimpact.com. Got a few articles, headlines we'll read through. Young man living on the streets finds Jesus of the Bible, overcomes drug and terminally online addictions. Terminally online. Wow. Recruiting U.S. resellers as Healthy Traditions winding down e-commerce stores in 2024, recruiting resellers to carry their products in local communities. Satanic Jews exposed in the Brooklyn Underground tunnels where children are subject to satanic ritual abuse. Lady Liberty's last dance. I guess I didn't mention this last week. Probably should have, but I just thought the whole thing was a bit ridiculous and not really that surprising. But yeah, I guess you guys probably heard about the tunnels that were found in New York City. 2 U.S. Navy SEALs reported lost fighting Somali pirates. And then the rest of these are articles I mentioned last week, I think. VaccineImpact.com, and then geoengineeringwatch.org. We usually mention the articles on here, and this week it was I think we just had the Global Alert News for January 20th, which was yesterday. The January chemical ice nucleation flash freeze of the U.S. is about to be followed up by a weather whiplash record warm temperature rebound, which I mentioned that at the start of the show. Yeah, that's what we're in for as well. He says, the planet's life support systems are broken. Climate intervention operations are radically accelerating the process. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Global Alert News. Here it is here. Yeah, winter weather whiplash. Cold temperatures, warm temperatures, cold temperatures, warm temperatures. That's what that means. And then this past week in Nashville, we've had anywhere from a low of maybe single digits, like 6 degrees, to a high of in the 20s, I think, something like that. And this coming Thursday, it's supposed to be 65. 65. So that is the rebound. That's the weather whiplash that Dane's talking about here. Because they can't keep it cool indefinitely. They can keep it cool for some time, and they can do dramatic cool downs, but it always rebounds. It always bounces back up once they stop doing the engineering. So, yep. Again, global climate intervention, it says climate intervention operations are radically accelerating the process of the planet's life support systems being broken. So I don't disagree. Anyway, geoengineeringwatch.org is where that one is. There's 2 articles here on Israel 365 News I thought were just worth mentioning. It's kind of interesting. Media warns of World War III starting in the Middle East after presidential elections. Says, according to media reporting on documents leaked from the German Ministry of Defense, which I mentioned that earlier in the show, European leaders are preparing for a hybrid Russian attack in Eastern Europe, which isn't going to happen, but they're saying that it will. So that gives them an excuse to attack Russia, I suppose. Says the first stage, dubbed Alliance Defense 2025, would start this February with Russia mobilizing an additional 200,000 soldiers, which we mentioned this earlier. Let's see, talking about the build report. Says, and now the Third World War. This guy, Simonian, posted to Twitter on Monday, whether a world war will break out now or later depends on whether Washington believes it will be useful to it now before the election or vice versa. I think that's very true. Judging by the choral silence of the American media, they are still thinking. So yeah, that's right. The lapdog media hasn't started all playing the same exact song. So when that happens, World War will definitely start. So we'll see what happens. But that's on Israel 365 News. So is this one. Biden and Netanyahu face off in biblical dispute. Thought that was kind of a funny headline. Two-state or not two-state. Talking, of course, about the Palestinian state. I just thought the headline was kind of funny. I can't imagine Joe Biden in any sort of biblical dispute. Can you? Pretty ridiculous. So yeah, that's on Israel 365 News. And the U.S. debt clock. We'll take a look at the secret message. What is it? There's a new world coming. He that believeth in me, the works that I do, shall he do also. And greater works than these shall he do. So that is the secret hidden message on the U.S. debt clock, which we've talked about many times here. But if you just go to the website, usdebtclock.org, click on the little secret window icon, which isn't really very secret. It's just in the upper right corner. So yeah, that's the message that's currently on there. And let's see, I guess we've reached the end of the articles. So let's take a look at some of the comments and questions you guys have posted for me here. And this is the Diamond Report store. If you guys want to help me out and support what I'm doing, this is one way to do that. I've got different shirts and mugs and hats and different things available there on the Diamond Report store. So feel free to peruse that, take a look, and if you want, grab a mug or grab a shirt or a hat or something and support what I'm doing. I certainly would appreciate that. If you don't really want to do that, then there is another option here. You can take a look at diamonddisc.substack.com, and we talked about that earlier, but there's a way to support financially what I'm doing here that way as well. Notice there were no commercials in this show. None. Because I have no sponsors and don't want any. And I'm not trying to sell you anything else. So I'm just trying to make it worth my time to do this show. I enjoy doing it a lot, and it's taking more and more hours all the time. So thank you guys for those of you who have supported me in the past and continue to. Certainly very much appreciate that. So yeah, let's take a look at the questions and comments and stuff and see what you guys are talking about in chat. See what's going on. Let's see. Yeah, Gates of Hell just said, we're going to change from using the needle to using the patch. I wonder who predicted that years ago. Yeah, it wasn't that Anthony Patch. Yes, exactly. And then Melinda says, Ebola is coming. Yeah, I mentioned that. I don't know. I'm not sure if I believe that. I mean, yeah, I think they do want some sort of, if you look at this, this right here, this is my, I guess you call it the end times event line. It's not really based on years. It's based on an events unfolding right here. I created this this document early in the year last year, and I wanted to have blocks that I could move around if I needed to. But I haven't really changed anything once I put this thing together. But could that be Ebola? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know if Ebola is scary enough to do what they really need to have happen to force people into running out and getting new vaccine patches or whatever to save them from the evil whatever the next disease X is. Maybe. I do agree with what Vicky's saying here. After the next pandemic will probably be the digital identity. Yep, I think you're right on that. And, looking at this, we've got the new pandemic right here. Great Reset. CBDC's announced as solution to financial woes. DM-based system announced as global monetary system based on blockchain and quantum computers. The name of the one world currency remains to be seen. Microneedle array delivers mark of the beast technology. Protects people from the new gift. So that stuff's all on here. This is all on this timeline that's not year-based, but in fact it's more... it's based on events, really, more than anything. That's why I call it an event timeline. But yeah, I mean, that's very possible that is what unfolds. And I think we're seeing the trial balloon of the Disease X thing. We have a lot of people talking about Disease X now. Whatever that X is, I have no idea. I do think it's interesting that they're calling it Disease X. And who do they hate right now? Elon Musk. And what's the name of his company? Oh, yes. So Elon Musk is Disease X, maybe. I don't know. Pretty interesting, though. Surely we can trust the people who've droned on for decades about overpopulation to ensure we're safe from the next mysterious pandemic that they're cooking up. It's all such madness. Yes, it is. I think that's the whole purpose. Yeah, it's complete madness. Don't forget the sonic needle. Yeah, that's right. And also the wafers. You have the devil wafers too. Don't forget that. Joe and Jill went up the hill. They actually are about as real as a nursery rhyme, aren't they? Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy. I think you're right. If they insist that the patch will only work properly on the right hand or forehead, the placement of the mark is specified 3 times in Revelation. Yes, it is. That's where the mark is probably scanned. I think that the best information I've seen on that comes from Hope and Tavon, in my opinion, where they have shown some studies where they'll show pictures of lab rats who have had this luciferase taken into their bodies, and certain body parts light up, and that is their head and the tip of their tail. And I've shown that before on the broadcast. It's like the luciferase, like the light emitting enzyme, somehow gravitates to the head and to the extremities. Maybe that's how it works. I don't know, but I do think it's interesting. I don't necessarily think that the Band-Aid patch type of knee will be applied to your forehead or to your hand. I think that some people might do that, but the enzyme, the luciferase, is going to be in your body, and in fact, in a lot of cases, unless you got at least already is for people who be looking at it. So how that exactly plays out, I don't know, but I do think it's pretty interesting to see what Hope and Tavon have come up with over the last few weeks and months about some of this information on the luciferase. So, and I've mentioned that before on the show. Let's see. I knew he was going to say Hunter Biden. Susan says, yeah, when we were talking about Gonzalo Lira. Yeah, exactly. Playing Connect the Dots has become painfully obvious as the plot on the world stage thickens. Yeah. Let's see. I love my glow-in-the-dark watch in the 60s with radioactive paint on the dial. Wow. I don't remember that. I wasn't around, but that's pretty interesting. And you're still here to talk about it, so I guess it wasn't too deadly. Yeah. Oh, Cowboy's here. Hello. He says, Aerosmith, dude looks like a lady. Yeah, I remember that. That's a good song. Dylan Mulvaney was picked Woman of the Year. What does that say to women is what I'd like to know. I know. That's exactly right. It's supposed to insult them, I'm pretty sure. I think they'll assassinate Trump. They're desperate for power. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a good chance they could blow up his plane or something like that and just say, oh, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was an accident. It was an accident. Of course, we'll know the truth, right? Yeah, I never really thought about transgender people until they put it in our faces. Yeah, who cares? It's such a tiny, tiny minority. Of course, it's not now because it's being paraded about all the time everywhere, and And lots of kids are being brainwashed into thinking that they need to be one of them because they're the cool people and everything, which, of course, there's nothing further from the truth. But they believe it. It's called propaganda. Which is more weird, men trying to imitate women or women trying to intimidate or imitate men? Great icebreaker question, huh? Yeah, that's a good way to get punched, I guess. It depends on who you ask. If you ask the wrong woman who's pretending to be a man or vice versa, you could get smacked or punched, right? I think both are equal. Both are very disturbing, yes. I've been watching the planes sprayed, then land in our airport for refueling and refilling, and guess who's doing it? It's the U.S. Air Force. Yeah. Yep, and we've talked about that before on this show, and then, Dane's done reports on that as well. But yeah, I think you're right. It's the military. That's why it's, it's a distraction to get involved in finding these little companies who have these little Cessnas who, put tanks on the wings and then go fly around and spray silver iodide in the clouds and then make it rain over a certain little patch. That is not really geoengineering. That's just a temporary little area that's being affected. Whereas the military is flying worldwide, globally. They're doing these programs globally. So yeah, he's saying the landing path is right over his house. Wow. I can literally watch them fly around and spray and watch them come into the airport. NASA wasn't lying when they said they contracted it out to the military. Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. Yep. I'm a vet. I tell other vets that don't expect me to support something like that that's killing us. Yeah. Maybe King Charles is sending them over and using our planes. Maybe. I don't know. Susan says I froze. I don't think I froze. I feel pretty good. I'm not exactly frozen solid yet. It is cold here, though. No, I don't know. Hopefully I didn't freeze. I didn't have anybody else say that the live stream froze. And no other errors here on my side, so I think we're good. Betty says, good job tonight. Healing prayers and blessings to you and your family and mom. Thank you. I had a small wind-up glow-in-the-dark alarm clock for a long time. And it was radioactive too, I guess. Betty says. So, yeah. Anyway, that was good. Good comments from you guys. And let me see if I've gotten any other important videos we need to take a look at here. We've got several. And still fairly early, I guess. It's pushing midnight here. Let's take a look at this one. I thought this was good. This kind of goes back to the whole idea of J6 and how these poor guys are getting railroaded. I think this is a good video on this. And it says this is about a guy named Jeremy Brown, defense team to prove agents planted evidence on Jeremy Brown. So let's take a look at this and we'll be right back.
In December of 2020, federal agents Lindsay and Ura approached Mr. Jeremy Brown at his home and asked him if he would be a paid informant for the government. They asked him to infiltrate some groups they were looking at involving concerns they had about an event in January. Mr. Brown recorded this conversation, and instead of working for the government on January 6th, he went on as many media outlets that would have him, starting in March of 2021, and played the recording. He named the agents and exposed what they wanted him to do.
So, it's no big deal. We decided to come out.
I've worked with JTTF before, so I'm familiar.
You might in the future, too.
So see, there you have it. Well, you might in the future.
So we don't care which way you lean.
Right.
We just want to make sure that you're not targeting anybody and nobody's going to get hurt over the outcome in January. We'd love to hear from you. And again, I can't make any promises, but like, if you provide information and prevent something big, the government pays for that. Like, we think that we can help you, we can help us, and we can definitely, on this side of things, less aggravation. You're one of 19 people that we're going to knock on the door, they're going to say they're not home, or they are home, and we're like,
one of 19 people. These two guys, not the 58 other agents that he's about to explain that there's 60 of them in Tampa. But I'm just one of 19.
As a result of his righteous actions, the government had him arrested after an illegal search of his home on September of 2021. And after nearly 2.5 years in federal prison, Jeremy has filed for an appeal. Jeremy's legal team is presenting forensic evidence that show the unregistered explosive grenades and the national defense documents that Jeremy was said to have illegally been in possession of were planted in his home by government agents during an illegal search. The first thing the agents did when they entered Mr. Brown's home for their search was turn off all 14 recording devices, and none of these agents had any functioning body cameras. The only person recording was Jeremy's girlfriend, who recorded the arrest by Agent Lindsay and Ura, who instructed her to stop recording, which she did. They were very deliberate in making sure nothing was recorded during their search. During this search, they allegedly found 2 explosive grenades and a CD containing national defense documents, items that Mr. Brown denied knowing anything about. The grenades were tested for DNA, and the FBI's own experts found 2 male specimen DNAs on the grenades, none of which were from Jeremy Brown. They found a dog hair underneath one of the grenades. Mr. Brown has 2 dogs, so the FBI got a search warrant, took over 50 samples from his dogs, and determined that the hair on the grenade was not from his dogs. They found a carpet fiber on the tape around one of the grenades, so they get another search warrant, cut out pieces of Jeremy's carpet, and compare the fibers to the one that was found with the grenade, and they determine it was not a match. Criminal counts 6, 7, 8, and 9 were allegedly found on a compact disc that they claim Mr. Brown carried with him through the deserts of Kuwait and Afghanistan for 17 years. And yet, there isn't a scratch or a hint of discoloration on it. In August of 2022, there was a trace done on that CD to see when it was uploaded. And the evidence shows that Mr. Brown did not have the CD or the 2 grenades in his possession. They were planted by crooked agents working for a criminal state that has locked up and tortured scores of innocent men and women for a planned false flag event that they orchestrated with so many federal assets that they lost count. This criminal state is now threatening to go after everyone who was in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, no matter if they were in the Capitol or on Capitol grounds. While we are still somewhat free, let us support Jeremy Brown in his legal efforts so that he can free himself and continue to fight for American freedom. Greg Reese reporting.
Thought that was a pretty good report, and the thing that really stuck out to me on that was the whole CD thing. As you guys know, I'm involved in the music business and mastering CDs and doing that kind of work for many, many years, and I have seen CDs and DVDs of all kinds over the last 27 years I've been in business, and let me just tell you, no CD, especially going through 17-year process of being overseas in a war, is ever even going to be readable because it's going to get scratched up and fingerprinted up and everything. So just the fact that they tried to plant that and push it off as being legitimate and real is laughable at best. What a joke. 17-year-old CD with data on it that supposedly he had overseas and stuff. I don't think so. Anyway, pretty wild. Interesting stuff. And then let's see, we've got another video here. If you want to watch one more here with me, and then we'll close it out for the night. We've got, I thought this one was kind of interesting. We just passed MLK Day last Monday, and I found this one. I didn't even know this was necessarily anything that had come up, at least not in recent memory anyway. Was MLK Jr. a communist? I don't know if you guys ever even heard that before. I don't know that I ever did. I've heard lots of people saying he was a womanizer and all these different things, which who knows, that might be true. I have no idea. However, I never really heard of him being accused of being a communist. So I thought this other report here was pretty interesting. See what you guys think about it.
Was MLK Jr. a communist? In October of 1962, the FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover, began conducting an investigation of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and its president, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., under a surveillance project called CommonPhil, an acronym for Communist Infiltration, which permitted spying on organizations suspected by the FBI of having been infiltrated by communists. The investigation was based on the concern that MLK Jr. was being influenced by two people, simply referred to as Advisor A and Advisor B, who had in fact been members of communist organizations in the US at some point prior to 1962. But did this mean that MLK Jr. was a communist? The first FBI allegations that the Communist Party was attempting to infiltrate the SCLC appeared in a report from the FBI to Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy on January 8, 1962, which indicated that Advisor A and B were members of the Communist Party USA and the National Committee of the Communist Party, respectively. Shortly after this report, Assistant Attorney General Burke Marshall told King about the FBI's claims regarding Advisor A and B, suggesting that he break off relations with these individuals. However, Dr. King gave no indication of breaking off relations with Advisor A, but Advisor B was removed from his position to prevent damage to the reputation and cause of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. When the FBI leaked this information to the press, King was forced to respond, quote, "No person of known communist affiliation could serve on the staff of the SCLC." He further denied any knowledge that Advisor B had communist affiliations. MLK Jr. even told one of his associates that President Kennedy had told him that, quote, "There was an attempt by the FBI to smear the movement on the basis of communist influence." The president also said, "I assume you know you're under very close surveillance." In regards to these accusations, Dr. King also sent a letter to Attorney General Kennedy stating, quote, "The situation in our country is such that any allusion to the left brings forth an emotional response which would seem to indicate that the SCLC and the Southern Freedom Movement are communist-inspired." In other words, MLK Jr. knew that these smears of communism would destroy his reputation and his organization. Concerning MLK Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the FBI was focused on two things: the Civil Rights Movement, as well as the communist infiltration into the black community in the US. This was the motivation behind all of their nefarious behavior. On July 12, 1963, Governor Ross E. Barnett of Mississippi testified before the Senate Commerce Committee that civil rights legislation was, quote, "a part of the world communist conspiracy to divide and conquer our country from within." And Governor Barnett revealed the now infamous photo taken by an informant which showed Dr. King at a 1957 Labor Day weekend seminar with three individuals whom he alleged were communists. The photo presented was titled "Martin Luther King at Communist Training School." But was this a genuine representation or FBI-influenced propaganda? When Hoover was asked directly about the authenticity of the photograph, he forwarded these inquiries to the Justice Department, along with a memo that summarized the information on MLK Jr. they had compiled so far. Luckily, Martin Luther King Jr. had friends in high places, and on July 17th, President Kennedy announced at a news conference, quote, "We have no evidence that any of the leaders of the civil rights movement in the United States are communists. We have no evidence that the demonstrations are communist-inspired. There may be occasions when a communist takes part in a demonstration. We can't prevent that." The president's brother, A.G. Robert Kennedy, echoed this statement, quote, "Based on all available evidence from the FBI and other sources, we have no evidence that any of the top leaders of the major civil rights groups are communists or communist-controlled. This is true as to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as well." When the head of the Domestic Intelligence Division of the FBI, William Sullivan, also echoed these sentiments about no evidence of communist infiltration into the civil rights movement, Hoover responded to him by saying, quote, "This memo reminds me vividly of those I received when Castro took over Cuba. You You contended then that Castro and his cohorts were not communists and not influenced by communists. Time alone proved you wrong. During the 1975 Church Committee hearing on these matters, William Sullivan testified that he felt obligated to please Hoover in the FBI's search for communist infiltration. So, William Sullivan, the head of the Domestic Intelligence Division, changed his tune, stating, quote, "We are in complete agreement with the director that communist influence is being exerted on Martin Luther King Jr., and that King is the strongest of the Negro leaders. We regard Martin Luther King to be the most dangerous and effective Negro leader in the country." This kind of top-down control throughout the FBI's various divisions allowed for money, time, and resources to continue to be spent on spying on MLK Jr., trying to tie him, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and the Civil Rights Movement to the Communist Party, until the investigation was closed 5 years later, after his untimely death. Their goal was to gather compromising dirt and discredit a strong black leader, despite any of their official claims of hunting for communists. The FBI even mailed Dr. King a tape recording made from its surveillance, revealing specific details of his sexual promiscuity and infidelity, that was intended to precipitate a separation between he and his wife, in the belief that the eventual divorce would reduce his stature. The FBI even went as far as making plans to promote someone new to, quote, "assume the role of leadership of the Negro people when King had been completely discredited." What did these efforts have to do with communist infiltration? Even if Advisor A and Advisor B to Martin Luther King Jr. had been proven to be communists, did that make the doctor himself a communist agent? The FBI's tactics discredit themselves, and the lack of evidence to prove MLK Jr. was a communist reveals that it was all a smear campaign, running on loose association and innuendo. In other words, if they had the proof that MLK was a communist, we would all know that by now. And their failed investigation may in fact be one of the main reasons he was assassinated. Finally, after all the surveillance, interrogation, and political football, when the 1975 Church Committee asked the FBI's Domestic Intelligence Division's Deputy Associate Director if the FBI concluded that MLK was a communist, he testified, "No, sir, we did not." Now that's the American tax dollars at work. So this MLK Jr. Day, be sure to thank the Federal Bureau of Investigation for all they do, protecting the people of the United States from evil Christians who want to protect their rights.
Yeah, I think he made a pretty good argument there that the feds pretty much took him out for that reason. They couldn't prove the case, so hey, we got to get rid of him. Yeah, and that's what Cowboy's saying here in the chat. I think that you're exactly right. Yeah, it was the feds that did it. Yep, like so many other deaths, so many other murders that happened in the 60s and really up until today, right? So anyway, thought that was a pretty good report and wanted to share that with you guys. Now let's see here. This is my Twitter page. If you guys are on Twitter, X as they call it, feel free to follow along there. And this most recent tweet was actually a retweet from AJ and talking about the hospitals injecting staff with live that sheds. Yeah, so anyway, that is over there on my Twitter page. If you guys want to follow along there, I would certainly appreciate that. And the YouTube channel this week, I did a I think it was Friday night, did a premiere of a video from back in 2019 that I mentioned that I unearthed it. I found it. I totally forgot that Anthony Patch and I had made this video, and I didn't really. It wasn't very many places. It was on a couple of his channels, and it was one of the channels it was on was his YouTube channel that got deleted back in 2021. And then I found this video the other day and reposted it to my channel, and it had some really good response. It's from 2019, November of 2019. Quantum computers are driving global geoengineering programs. And I think if you haven't seen it yet, I think we make a pretty good case there that is indeed what's going on. And in fact, not too long after we made that video, you see it right there above my shoulder, right there. not too long after that, I heard from Dane Wigington, and he thanked me for making the video, and he totally concurred that was probably what was going on. So if you've missed the video, definitely go watch that. It's on my YouTube channel. I didn't put it on all the other channels. I really just focused on that one, just on the YouTube channel, because I felt like that was where I could probably reach the most people with it. But I may put it on the BitChute channel and Rumble channel and stuff at some point. I don't know. But I kind of like the Premiere feature on YouTube. It's kind of cool. You can upload a video, set it to Premiere, and then people can go watch it with you and then chat live just like you're doing a live stream. So I wanted to do that. And so that's what that is. And I think Anthony makes a really good case talking about quantum computers, and then also the spiritual side of quantum computers and geomancy and all of that, and how that sort of plays into the whole governors thing, and the governors who are really running the show, really running the different weather elements and things like that, looking at the spiritual side of things. I thought that was pretty interesting. I had a lot of really good comments on the video. So anyway, feel free to check that out if you want to. It's on Take It to the Lord in Prayer on my YouTube channel there. And you can get there by going to, if you're not already there, go to takeittotheLordinprayer.com. Takes you right to it. So yeah, and then let's see, the other channels I've got here, the Rumble channel, which is Diamond Disc, DIAMONDISC, which is my company name, but I'm using that on many of my other channels. So if you're looking for me on different social media platforms, usually it's Diamond Disc. And I use that because it's short and it's something that people can hopefully remember. And it comes from my company. It's my business name. I'll show you that in just a second. Same exact name over on BitChute and Brighteon. And I've got a few followers on those channels, so I appreciate that. And then ClickView, same thing as well, and TikTok. And I did upload the most recent video from last week in pieces. You have to do it in pieces on TikTok last week just to see what would happen. And yep, just as I thought, I lost 2 of them right away. I uploaded 11 clips, and of the 11 clips, 2 of them got banned almost instantaneously from TikTok. So whatever, they're still allowing me to upload, so I don't really know. I'm obviously reaching just a few people on there, a couple hundred people on some of these different segments, so I guess it's worth it. I may continue doing that. We'll see. But yeah, that's on TikTok if you guys happen to be on there. And then Band. This is the free social media platform that's uncensoring, and we've used Band with Anthony Patch's group very successfully. People seem to like Band a lot, and it does have an app if you like to install an app and use that. I don't really use the Band app. I just use the website. I go log in at band.us, and you can access everything that way. So that's how I do it. I don't like having to do the app thing, but if you do like that, that is an option. And they don't follow your every move and try and collect all your data, like for instance a Facebook app is certainly capable of. So feel free to join us over on the Diamond Report, band.us, and then /@ the Diamond Report is where that is, and it's also linked to in all of my Substack posts pretty much. So Diamond Digital Media, Diamond Disc Audio, this is my main company. I pulled up this little section of the home page, Web Design and Development Portfolio. This is some of the websites that I've built over the years, different things. I do a lot of websites for musicians and bands and things like that. You can kind of see that here on the site, just in this little collage of different pictures. You guys might know Lindley Oz. She's a good friend of mine. She's got a site here that I built. I don't know if you can really see it based on the chat. Here, let me turn the chat off for just a second so you guys can see her site right here. There you go. You see Truth Hunters right there. That's Lindley Oz's site. And, of course, Anthony Patch's site. Done a few, sites like that are more truther-oriented type stuff. And always have fun doing that kind of thing, in addition to the music stuff that I do and other things. So, anyway, that's just a few little demonstration type websites. If you want to go there and check that out. I don't know if you happen to know somebody that needs a website designed or built, that's one thing that I do. So feel free to put us in touch, and you can do that through my website, diamonddiscaudio.com, or you can just go to dougdiamond.com. It's the same exact site. So thank you guys very much. I certainly appreciate that. I've got one more video here if you want to hang out just a few more minutes. And I see Emily's here. Welcome back, Emily. Sounds like she was visiting family, so that was good. I'm glad you glad you got to see some family today. That's pretty cool. And then let's see. The last video we have tonight is called "What Are They Planning Is Anyone's Guess?" And this is actually a pretty short video. It's Gareth Ike, who's David Ike's son. I thought it was pretty good. He makes some really good points in it. And I guess we'll close it out for the evening, though. It's going on 12:30 in the morning here, so it's getting kind of late. Hope you guys have a really great week. Hope it's a blessed one. And let's do this again next week. We can do it on, what is that, the 28th next week? Will be Sunday the 28th at 10 p.m. Central Time is when we'll start. So feel free to join me then. Hope you guys have a really good one, and hope it's a productive week. And more importantly, I hope it's a blessed week, and that we somehow, you and I both, bring glory to Jesus. That's what it's all about. So you guys take care, and we'll see you again real soon.